Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Nick Stuller, who's the founder and CEO of My Perfect Financial Advisor. Nick, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I'm excited to learn from you, and I want to say, wow, you are setting the bar high and putting people up on a pedestal to say perfect financial advisor. But let's talk a little bit about that perfect fit, financial advisor. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your background and your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks again for having me. So I've been in the financial services industry for, I hate to admit it, 30 years. And started my career literally on Wall Street at 14 Wall Street. Then it was called Shearson Lehman Hutton. And over the past 15 years, I've been the co-founder and the CEO of two other financial technology companies. And so this is my third fintech company. But I was also, I've been an entrepreneur, I guess, forever. In college, I had companies. I quit school for a year to start a completely different kind of company. So I've always been an entrepreneur. But the last 15 has been financial technology.
Neat. Yeah, I mean, it's really awesome when you can think in reality, no matter what you do in industry, whatever the industry is, people should be entrepreneurial minded. And if you're in a corporation, that's called being an intrapreneur, which is being entrepreneurial under the umbrella of this company where, your bosses would look at you, go, wow, that's really creative and that's really good. And that helps grow our industry. But now for you, it's financial services, but now you're serving two sides of the equation. You're serving people that need to find a good, reliable, trustworthy advisor, and you're also serving advisors who need to make sure they get paired up with people who need their services. So talk a little bit about at what point, that did you go, you know what? Remember back in the old days, there's the commercial about, hey, I like peanut butter. Hey, I like chocolate. And then you put it together just like, oh, hey, what a good mix. So at what point did you go, there's a platform that needs to be created here?
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and you're absolutely correct. And so, because I've been in the industry a long time, over the years, I would bemoan the fact that investors, really, even savvy investors, even very wealthy investors, didn't understand advisors, even if they had one. And then I also recognized that advisors always bemoaned how difficult and really hard it is to get a new client. And then as the world moved on, it got more compliance oriented, and it became harder because of compliance and legal. And so I've recognized for a long time there needs to be an objective, kind of ubiquitous place where an investor can go and comfortably get matched to an advisor with a minimum amount of conflict. Conversely, a place where advisors can get into a system and be matched up to clients that really are a match for them and not wasting their time. And so that's really, it kind of was a genesis over a long period of time. And then really in the past 5 or 6 years, investor behavior changed, where before that, they really wouldn't use the internet to find a new advisor from scratch. They'd use the internet to check somebody out that they met at a cocktail party or your uncle referred you. But in the past 5, 6 years, kind of the world caught up with the advisor world, which is great. Now consumers and investors do go on the internet to search for a brand new advisor, do a Google search, and firms like mine are doing super well because we now fit that need. And so really, it's really good timing.
Well, and you bring up so many points, and I want to dive into a few of these, which is, I forget what you said, but like frictionless and painless. As a consumer, you want to find a reliable, trustworthy person, whether it's a house repair, plumber, but in this case, financial advisor. Well, you also, as a consumer, don't want to put your name and information in a blank and within seconds get barraged with people chomping at the bits. And now that's not a good feel or a good look. So talk a little bit about how that process works so that you feel like you're still in control, but you're getting the information that you need.
Sure, and that's a great point. And the worst thing is when you go to find a roofer or a plumber or an advisor and getting the wrong person to contact you. It's so frustrating. So the way our system works is it's completely confidential. We ourselves, by the way, are a regulated organization. We're what's called a registered investment advisor, because when we match an investor to an advisor, we actually tell the investor, based on the data and the science, we think you should hire this one named advisor, and then we also though give them up to 6 alternates in order of rank, and that act is actually giving advice. So we're limited in what we do, but we are regulated, and that means we are a fiduciary to the investor. We must, by law, do the right thing for them. So the way we execute this is the investor goes on; it's free to the investor. They fill out all this information. And then boom, here's your matches. So then their name isn't given to the advisor because we want them to feel comfortable, the consumer. They have to take the first step. So when they're ready to reach out to their number 1 and number 2 and number 3 picks, then they reach out. So then they completely avoid this feeling of being inundated and pursued, as a brand new hot lead, which in our research, the investors told us loud and clear, we hate being treated like a hot lead, despise it. And when you think about it, your money, or it's a will or insurance, or if you have special needs kids, money is very emotional for almost everyone. The last thing you need is high pressure tactics from someone you've never met. Yeah. So we allow the investor to, in the comfort of their time, reach out to the advisor. And then conversely, the advisor then gets an inbound email from our system saying, hey, Mary wants to speak with you. And that means Mary really wants to speak with you, not just,
like literally.
Mary, literally, as opposed to Mary may have filled out a free offer to get a guide and really doesn't want to talk to you, but she wants the intel. And the advisors get very frustrated by that kind of marketing tool, which gives you so many
how about this?
positives.
Have you ever gone online and gone, ooh, that webinar looks really good, or that download looks good, so I'm going to put my information in, and you put in some throwaway email that you never check because you just want the thing? Well, just like what you just described, this is actually a human being that has vetted and looked into what they want and said, yes, I want to speak to this person. Here's my actual real, you know what I'm saying? So what you're describing to me is so different than what I initially would have thought. If I would have said, oh, describe how Nick's service works, I would have gone, oh, it's like the old lendingtree.com. You go in and fill out this form, and then you're just a lead broker. Well, you are the furthest thing from a lead broker possible because, number one, of the ethics and proprietariness that you are describing. But to me, the thing that stands out is, wow, if you are a fiduciary, a literal fiduciary, that's not just a word. If you are a registered RIA, you cannot mistreat people's information and connection. That is a big aha for everyone listening. And I think that's something that I want to make sure that is really, really standing out. You cannot just go, we're just, flying through thousands of leads just so that we as a company can make a buck. It is a relationship connection service in reality.
No, I'm so glad you pointed that out. And also our business model, how we make money, reinforces that. Again, it's free for the investor, but it's a flat $995 annual subscription fee for the advisor. Yeah. So that means the system is agnostic, whether you literally have no money and you really just need a financial plan and you have a budget of $400 for that financial plan, or if you have $10 million to us, we make the same amount of money from the advisor regardless. So whoever you hire, we have very little conflict because we just want the algorithm to do its work to do that match, almost like it's very much like eHarmony, by the way, because in our system, neither party can search the system. Like an investor can't search for what they think is the right advisor for them, because here's the reality. And I've been in the industry 30 years, and I've interviewed so many investors, wealthy and not. They really don't understand advisors. They don't know what they're looking at or for. So we take that problem out of their hands, and we tell them who we think they should hire and look at. And so because we tell the investor, here's the one we think is best, that's absolutely giving advice. But unlike other ways to get an advisor, it puts a lot of pressure on the investor to make a decision about hiring someone in a subject matter they are completely ignorant of, just because it's never taught. Nobody knows this stuff. Nobody knows the difference between a wealth manager and an asset manager and a financial planner. I mean, in the industry we do, but John Q. Public, even someone with 10 million doesn't know the difference. They have no idea. So we do, though. And so it's a very different way of looking at it, again, because our first priority is the investor. We want to improve their lives by getting them an advisor. The obvious output is advisors get new clients and relationships.
So is there an aspect to your connecting algorithm, is what I'll think of it as, where is there any personality traits? Is there any risk tolerances? Is there anything that goes, because client prospect A said these things, this is a perfect match for financial advisor B because? Or is it just, you're in the general geographic area and, the zip code, here you go?
It's the former, not the latter. So there's absolutely artificial intelligence built in. The geography does play a small part in the algorithm. However, and the algorithm, to be fair, if all else is equal, and let me underscore that, if all else is equal, which it never is, we prefer you to hire an advisor close by because there are so many benefits. The reality is this: that doesn't happen that often. Because, for example, if you're a widow with a $5 million portfolio with 3 kids and you're only 40 years old, you want an advisor that knows widows really, really well. Well, the number one advisor to widows, statistically, is not going to be in your hometown, may not even be in your state. So why? We'd be voiding our fiduciary duty if we limited selection by geography. We'd be harming our investors. So we don't. We don't limit. So the geography, if everything else lines up, great. But it doesn't. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it doesn't. So often they'll be introduced. The two parties will be introduced across state lines for the good of the investor.
And let me test my senses of perception here and make a statement and see if I'm right, because so far I'm tracking right with you, and I love what you guys are doing. You mentioned a fee that the advisor pays. Am I correct in thinking that there is not 3, 4, 5 levels of an increased fee so that you get more premium contacts or whatnot? It's just, if you're on the system, we're going to match you to the best possible prospects and So in other words, you would not have some regulatory agency going, hold up, John Q Financial Advisor, Jane Q Financial Advisor is paying you a premium to get more than this other one. It's all flat, kind of like our representatives are salary based. So it doesn't matter what you choose, they're going to get paid the same. So your advisors are on the platform and been vetted by you, but they cannot get to the front of the line by paying more and getting, a premium treatment.
You're absolutely correct. There is the only fee that we make from this service is the flat fee from the advisor. They can't pay us more. We don't get basis points. We don't get lead gen fees.
That's huge.
Nothing. And we have other products and services that we are going to build in addition to the matching platform, in out years, that we sell, frankly, both to the investor and the advisor. But this service, it's very, and we did it very purposefully, almost exclusively to build trust with the investor. That because there are mechanisms in our industry where an advisor can get a new client by paying a lot of money, and the person sending them that client gets an incentive fee. There's an inherent conflict. It's not illegal. It has to be disclosed. But the reality is they have very little incentive to work
but that
with
advisor
small
could
accounts.
have 3 months on the job, and they were willing to pony up a huge fee just to get. And now all of a sudden, this investor's getting someone that has barely any experience at all, just because they wrote a big check, quote unquote. So that's not fair. So I love that model.
Thank you. No, we feel good about it because in speaking with the investors that we've been working with, we've already got the evidence that we've improved lives. And that's incredibly gratifying because, again, I know advisors and investors very well. Like my own family history, my parents made good decisions and really bad decisions. And I wrote a book on the topic a few years ago and interviewed lots of investors. And here's the reality. Investors, even the super wealthy and smart, constantly blow themselves up, and they don't know what they don't know. They need the help. And so it's too complicated to be completely self-directed without any, professional help. It's just a matter of how much you need and exactly what you need dictates what kind of advisor you're going to get matched up to. But to be completely solo and never get a third party to give you perspective on the dozens of things you need to be thinking about is look at the results of our society. What is it? 80% of America doesn't have enough money to pay the bills for a month. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And that is most of the time due to good old-fashioned simple budgeting. Not always, but a lot of the time. And that's called a financial plan, is what gets you to fix your budget. And then, then the billionaires get suckered by a Madoff.
Yep.
That's pick your ill.
Yep.
If an investor or a consumer listens to a professional, just like going to a doctor, who blindly ignores all medical advice like all the time? Nobody. So so that's it. They need it. They need the help.
Yep. Yeah, this is not an obscure need and you're matching people up to something that might not ever come up. This is something where you can say everybody at any age needs this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, let's do this.
And we have advisors that cater to we have advisors that only cater to very sophisticated, complicated family money. We have advisors that cater to folks that have nothing in a portfolio. They're right out of college and they need a plan, and everyone in between. So it was intended to do that.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, I will make sure that we have a link right to your website here in the show notes. But what's the best way that people can reach you in addition to the website, or is that the best way people can start off learning more about your service?
Yeah, that's the best way. myperfectfinancialadvisor.com, and then if anyone investor or advisor wants more info, we have email links on the site to folks here where we can answer questions. And I love talking with both investors and advisors to answer their questions and discuss how this service can be of help.
Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a real pleasure getting to know you and exploring your business model.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.